Cutting across to Mr. Sushant Sareen. He's a strategic expert. He's with us on the broadcast. Mr. Sareen, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. I'm sure you heard what the Afghan journalist had to tell us on the broadcast. From the point of view of India, is it strategically possible to channel this anger and opposition?
I don't think it's going to be very possible at this point in time. I think this is the Afghans rising up on their own, staking their rights, staking a claim to their right to existence, their right to certain freedoms which they've been used to over the last 20 years. And frankly speaking, this is a fight of Afghans. I think people like us can maybe support them, we can sympathize with them, we can probably amplify their voices, we can try and bring some pressure internationally on the Taliban regime and their masters in Pakistan. But beyond that, I don't think there is anything we can do or we should be doing. Okay. This is a fight for the Afghans. This is a fight they have to fight themselves. And frankly, I think hats off to their bravery, especially the women in Afghanistan. It is remarkable the kind of courage they are showing by coming out on the streets, protesting, staking a claim for their rights. I don't remember having seen something like this in decades. Yeah. So yes, I think I hope this is a point of inflection. I hope this is something which tells the Taliban that if they are going to continue to with their brutish ways, that is not going to be acceptable. They're not going to find any kind of acceptance or legitimacy either in Afghanistan or in the international community. Yeah. And I hope this sends a salutary message to their masters across the border in Pakistan that, you might have invaded Afghanistan, you might have occupied Afghanistan, you might send your ISI chief who's strutting about like a pro-council in Kabul, but that does not mean that you have found acceptance as far as the people of Afghanistan are concerned. The kind of protests, especially targeted against Pakistan and Pakistani interference, is actually should serve as a kind of wake-up call to the Pakistanis also. Okay. That they might have bitten off more than they can chew. And most of all, I think it should tell the international community to not rush into giving any kind of legitimacy or recognition to the Taliban until and unless they demonstrate that they are capable of, or they are eligible for that level of status to be accorded to them. Yeah. Otherwise, it would be a travesty.
Clearly, and respect for human rights, women rights, many things that the international community needs to focus upon. My last question to you, Pathikrita, as we talk about these visuals, you also heard M. Ibrahim, who was with us on the broadcast. What is the way in which these voices can be amplified, and the manner in which the international community, especially bodies like UN, have completely distanced themselves from the situation in Afghanistan? That's also a worrying point.
It's not just a question of being worried. It's what the Western world is actually doing right now. The Western world today actually is paying Pakistan for taking in the refugees, and literally Pakistan is blackmailing them to pay to Pakistan. In reality, what they are doing is they are paying some kind of a protection money or a ransom money to Pakistan on the hope and on the presumption that if they keep Pakistan in good humor, then this whole concept of terrorism and the lone wolf attacks would not have a spillover impact inside Europe from Afghanistan, but that is not going to happen that way. Eventually, the West has sown the seeds for the next generation of 9/11 to happen. The reality is that Afghanistan is now going to be a breeding ground, and certainly Pakistan has made Afghanistan their strategic backyard. They have got it. They're certainly not going to use it for development of Afghanistan. They're going to use it for germinating terrorism all over again. That's the only thing they know, and that's the only thing they can do. So the reality is, I completely agree with what Sushantji said, that we cannot do much right now. But at the same time, the world cannot just remain fence-sitter. I believe that we cannot fight on behalf of the Afghans, but at least the world could have helped the National Resistance Force. Yes. The Bagram Air Base was just beside Panjshir. What the Americans could have done was to, instead of keeping beside the arsenal that is now with the Taliban literally doling out to the Taliban, they could have given those arsenal, taken it and given it to the National Resistance Front to fight it on behalf of Afghanistan. Today, the people who are actually fighting out for the liberty, for the free world are Amirullah Saleh and his men, while the West, with all the arsenal that they have remained mute spectators and have remained just silent. They're just being silent and being glorified by that inaction. Someday, all of these countries will have to pay again, because the 9/11s of the future are going to happen again, because there is this sense of invincibility which the Taliban would have now, and they would continue to do what they know to do. Remember, the Khorasan project is alive for all of them. If they deviate from that, they would go to, their cadre will go to an ISIS Khorasan or an Al-Qaeda, and they'll exactly do what an Al-Shabaab or a Boko Haram or all these organizations aspire for, that is global jihad. So their inaction is going to result in devastation for the world all over again. This inaction and the presumption that if we don't do anything to the Taliban, they will not do anything to us, is not going to happen like that.
And if there is someone who's fighting for freedom and rights of people, it's the brave Afghans who are daring Taliban. It's the Afghan women who are staring down Taliban and challenging their authority. They have everything to lose, including their lives, but they're out on the streets protesting for their civil liberties. As Panjshir, the final resistance front, falls to Taliban, sources tell CNN News 18 that the names for the top posts of the new regime have been almost finalized. Mullah Muhammad Hassan Akhund is likely to be the head of the state, while Mullah Baradar and Mullah Salam will be his deputies. The Haqqanis will also play a major role in the government. Their head, Sirajuddin Haqqani, is likely to be the interior minister, and the Haqqanis will nominate all governors. Zabiullah Mujahid will be the spokesperson to Hassan Akhund. However, till now there is no sign of Taliban's supreme leader, Habibullah Akhundzada. It was expected that he would come out. He was expected to be in Kandahar, that he would come out, he'd come to Kabul and make a statement. But that did not happen. What would this team Taliban, quote unquote, the government that is yet to be formed, will really look like? Some pointers, some names which are emerging, an exclusive that my colleague Manoj Gupta gets for you. Mullah Hassan Akhund, he is the present head of the decision-making council. He is likely to be the head of the state. There would also be a spokesperson that will be appointed. You also have Mullah Baradar, the Taliban co-founder. He heads the political office. He could be the deputy head of the state. Not just him. There could be two deputy head of state. The second name is Mullah Abdul Salam Zaif, the former Taliban ambassador to Pakistan. So this is another deputy head of state that could be there. The Haqqanis will also get their share. Sirajuddin Haqqani, who leads the Haqqani network and is the link between Taliban and Al-Qaeda, he is likely to be the interior minister. Terrorists are forming government now. You also have Mullah Amir Khan Muttaqi, the member of Kuwait Ashura Council. He's likely to be the foreign minister. So those are the names coming in. Let's see when the announcement of the government formation actually happens. We'll continue talking about the story. The resistance in Afghanistan continues. We are slipping into a very short